You can tell me what's happening. Anybody? Anybody?
One waiting. That might be me.
Hey, Shop Mom. And since this will just stay recorded.
There you are. There you are. It's good.
Hey, Shop Mom. And anybody else, this is live, but this will just stay on here so that...
Lon's there. Lon is here.
Lon is there. Hey, Lon. Cheers and happy Friday. This is just a little improv or whatever. What would it be called? Not improv, just quick little questions and answers about anything related to machine work or bonus PT Cruiser overheating problems. If anybody has a PT Cruiser and wants to know why they're overheating, and you want my opinion on PT Cruisers, or if you want my opinion on machine work or anything else, or if I'm crooked. I think I see myself crooked, but I am going to have my first sip.
You don't look. Hey, Spanky's here.
Hey, Spanky. This is just a quick question and answers. Anything machine work. Actually, not anything machine work. Anything to do with engines at all. I'll take...
How about brisket? Can we talk about brisket?
Brisket. We want to talk about Texas brisket and how to make Texas brisket and why Texas brisket is different than brisket from somewhere else. Bring it on. So what do we have? Machine work, engines, overheating, PT Cruisers, brisket, the weather in Texas. This is pretty much just open court, open. Ask anything, and I'll make up something. I'll make up an answer for anything that I may not know. So I can't see the screen that far because that's not normally my job. But Shop Mom is manning the. Remember back in the day, manning the keyboard, manning the phone lines. I'm thinking of the 24-hour telethon. But anyway.
Spanky wants to know when we're meeting up at SEMA.
When are we meeting up at SEMA? Great question. See,
All right. Man.
I'm looking at Shop Mom right now. We are we have our flights booked. I think we have everything done, unless we just say we're not gonna go. But I think we are going. Seeing Shop Mom is. I'm looking that way.
Shop Mom's ignoring that question.
Shop Mom's ignoring that question.
I'm reading what's going on here. Pat Cassidy's here. Then Pat Cassidy wants to know what's up with the hot vapor car rebuild.
Excellent question. See, it's gonna turn out to be okay. I don't care if 5 people are just here with me, and Shop Mom and our daughter Felicia in the other room. That's enough people for me. But the hot vapor project. Well, what happened to the hot vapor project? Okay, I'm gonna just be honest with you. I bought a PT Cruiser. See how that's going around full circle? And the Plymouth is up on the lift, and I bought this PT Cruiser and have been kind of understanding the PT Cruiser world. And it's finished. Now, grandson is driving the PT Cruiser. It's out of the shop. I'll spend this weekend and clean the shop. It looks like a grenade went off in there. If you've seen my home shop, depends on which way you look. It looks like a real state-of-the-art shop, and then it looks like a shop. But anyway, that all being said, I'm going to clean up the shop, and then it's going to start cooling down. Faye is, I think she leaves this weekend.
Well, she's already gone.
She's already gone.
She went camping with Brandon.
Yes, she's gone. It's her birthday, so everybody wish Faye a happy birthday tomorrow. But it's her birthday weekend, like I said. Take the whole birthday month. So, and then she'll be at All Girls Garage, and then she comes back. It's super, but we're gonna make time to get the engine back in the car. So there's the whole full story. Engine, car's home. If you watch the videos, we got the car home. We have the engine out, which is the one that Smokey put back in it. That's not the hot vapor engine, and it's sitting on the lift. And we're treating the bottom, or I'm treating the whole bottom with Ospo. Chrysler didn't really treat these cars with any kind of metal treatment at all. So I'm cleaning the whole bottom up. I'm cleaning up the suspension. There's some little repair work I have to do. The hot vapor engine is ready to go in. If you watch the videos, we have...
Thomas is asking, Tom Rocha is asking what what's up with the Horizon.
So Tom's asking, so I'm here. We're asking, so the engine's done. The engine's all back together again. If you watch the videos, we repaired the carburetor. It had a broken piece that's the way that I acquired the engine. So we actually put that piece back on because I could see what Smokey had a piece of aluminum there, and I don't know if it broke when they pulled the motor out or whatever. We repaired that. We repaired everything on the engine. We even pulled the carburetor apart. If you watch the videos, make sure it's clean and everything is fine. I've never run anything but VP fuel in it, so it's never had ethanol fuel in it, and it probably never will. Engine's ready. When we pulled the engine out of the car, not the hot vapor engine out, taking the clutch, pressure plate, flywheel off, and moving it over to the hot vapor engine, what do we find out? The clutch is kind of smoked. Not gone, but this thing must make a tremendous amount of torque. It's because the clutch wasn't the best. So, you know me, eBay, and I got another clutch. Got another clutch for it, and Smokey has some finagling to the clutch. It's not the same stock clutch in it. The stock clutch is about this wide in the pad, and the one that Smokey has is about that wide. So, beep, there we are. We're stopped right there. Do I put the clutch that I bought from it, which is a 2.2 Chrysler clutch? We're not going to drive the car much. Put that clutch in it, and it's going to be fine. Do I leave the clutch that Smokey had in it? And it's a little on the thin side, not down to the rivets, and it's still okay. I can always pull the tranny off later. So y'all tell me, what would you do? Being a historic car, would you leave the clutch that Smokey had in it, even though it looks pretty hammered, but still okay? Put a 2.2 Chrysler clutch in it, which is not as wide. So if he smoked that clutch, what are we going to do with this clutch if we do if you watch the videos with Smokey in it, he did a burnout like no one's business. So I'm also thinking of purchasing a turbo clutch, possibly. Maybe a turbo clutch will be better. So option 4 is to have the original clutch relined. So that's where we're at on it. I got to figure out about clutch. If it gets down to it, I'm putting the original clutch back in it. I did resurface the flywheel, and I did clean up the pressure plate. So that's where we are on it. It's deciding what to do on it. If you watch the videos, either Faye's videos or my video, there's some corroded spots that's holding the radiator in. It's not going to fall out, and I don't really know if it's advisable to weld that back in, grind it, fix it, as much as just treat it so it doesn't rust anymore and just leave it as is. What else? I have a brand new fuel tank for it and the whole fuel system. So now that it's up on the lift, that's what's going to happen as well. We're going to drain the fuel, take that tank out. I've already cleaned it because we've driven the car with this engine. When we took it to New York, we had to drive it on and off a trailer. I've driven it from the house to the shop. So the tank's clean and everything's fine. I'm not going to take a chance. We're putting a brand new tank, brand new fuel pump, brand new everything. The lines I'm going to blow out and see what comes out of the lines. But as far as, I've already blown them out once and it's been perfectly clean. So that has to be done. So what are we thinking is, now that it's going to cool down, that maybe give us a couple of weeks, and I'll have Faye come back over and we'll get back on it again. That's where we're at on the Plymouth. But no one's asking about a PT Cruiser. Can I tell you something about a PT Cruiser? Unless I see somebody say, no, don't talk about a PT Cruiser, I'm going to have some beer.
No, actually, the conversation is about the clutch for the Horizon. Wade thinks you should replace it since you're there and keep the old one in the display case.
I thought that too. Now, Wade, would you replace it with a factory 2.2 one? Keep the old one in the display case, most definitely. Or try to, like I said, I already bought that one, that's not a problem. It would be a problem, but Shop Mom says that's not a problem. And I'm thinking maybe get the turbo clutch and see if the turbo clutch has more of a lining. But
remember, we did the research on the dimensions, and it is not.
Oh, that's right.
It's not
Shop
what
Mom,
you're thinking.
So I'm going to update you to reality.
And say hi to Rose.
Rose, hey Rose, thanks for stopping in. If y'all don't know Rose, she's the most an amazing fabricator. I don't think that
She is awesome.
I don't know. I can't even the stuff that she does with metal, with plastics. She pours lenses. So if you have a lens on she's into vans, but don't hold that against her. I kind of the vans are coming in now, and I kind of like I want to think because I want to say that she wasn't into vans because it was popular, but they're coming into being popular. But they probably wouldn't be popular if it wasn't for Rose. I'm gonna give her that because they have a whole a culture just on these good time vans, these old vans. Any kind of van is accepted in this group. But forget all of that. Go see her stuff. She's fabricating the little windows that went on the side. If you're not old school, you don't know what I'm talking about. The little window on the side of a van, the little triangle windows, the diamond shaped windows. She makes all of those. So if you have an old van that needs one of those there, man, have her make it. She's actually making them. That's art. That's a master right there. Besides that, I saw her the other day, lenses. She's pouring lenses. She pours plastic. She's, an amazing fabricator. So I don't want to get on it. I can just go on that because it's so easy. It's just go look up the stuff that she does. It's got a cool wall with moon eyes on it, and I'm envying that. I kind of liking that. I may have to not copy
Okay,
or.
we're going back to talking about the clutch.
Okay, go back to the class. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just I love that wall, Rose. That's an awesome wall.
Yeah, he does.
And that Ford 302. And I've worked in a van before. Putting an engine in and out of a van, that's not for everybody. Okay.
And Pat Cassidy suggests relining the old clutch.
Back in the day, there was a place in San Antonio. I had a Duster. Don't hold that against me. And it was a small block Chrysler, but I had a big block Chrysler 4-speed transmission. And the input shaft is bigger than a small block Chrysler. All great until I went to go buy a clutch for it. And because of the diameter of the bell housing and stuff, that big block's supposed to be an 11-inch clutch. I could only do a 10-inch clutch. I went to, I believe it was Service Parts in San Antonio, Texas. I need to see if they're still doing this, if they're still around. And took them 2 Zoom clutches. They unriveted, took the splines from the big block and the 10-inch from the small block, put them together. And every time that I would burn a clutch up, I only did it a couple times, I had to have one custom done. So I'm gonna look them up and see if there's, you don't wanna send the one out to get relined. What if we don't get it back? So if I could walk in and have it relined. I even thought about looking on eBay and see if they sell the rivets. I watch all these videos of these Indian guys in India that rebuild everything on the floor. And I've seen these clutches built, and they just hammer them themselves. If they can do it, I can do it. So maybe I'll get Rose to come over and help us realign a clutch. Wouldn't that be something? All right.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool.
Rose, are you up for that?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. That would be
let's do a realigning clutch party. Okay,
that
so
would make a lot of sense. Yeah. It's
so
kind of fun.
So that's what's going on the Plymouth world.
And Sarah Buchanan is here, and she says, "Hello, beautiful man."
Oh, that's my granddaughter Sarah. I love you. I'm glad you could be here. Cheers, and no, you know how I feel about drinking.
And
Stop
Wade
it.
says that the collab with Rose sounds like a video.
It does sound like a video. We're just saying. All right. So no one wants to. There's other. You could ask any question at all. Do you have an engine problem? They're pretty much. I think any question. Like no one's asking about brisket. And everybody's leaving the PT Cruiser alone. I'm gonna go to a subject. I have the Plymouth up on the lift, and I got the PT Cruiser underneath it. I'm working on the PT Cruiser, and my son says, "Look at the same car." Was it my son? I think it was my son. Anyway, looked like the same car. I stood back and looked at it, and it's the same wheelbase, pretty much. And then someone else tells me, "Oh no, the PT Cruiser is built on a Plymouth Horizon chassis. It's built on the same platform." And I'm like, "No way." I go home, open up the garage, and look. I took some pictures and put them on Instagram. If you want to look when they're on top of each other, it's pretty much the same car, the same wheel, the windows have the same look. And here's how it was, and it was, Bobby. This is what happened. We're putting the PT Cruiser back together again, and we got to put the plastic shields that cover the crank and the plastic shields that go inside. Someone, I see a blue thing. No, someone's giving me the money. Love it.
That's Rose.
Oh, Rose, you don't have to do that, Rose.
But thank you, Rose.
But thank you, Rose. So we're finished with the PT Cruiser, and we're putting the plastic shield that goes underneath the wheel well, and there's 2 plastic shields in there. So
And we do have a question when you get to a break.
okay, so he's putting the plastic shields in there, and he's like, it ain't fitting. I said, well, it fits. We took it off. It has to fit, you know. And he said, I get 1 bolt out of the 3, and it just won't fit. I said, okay, hold on. I get on my back. Gratefully, I didn't have to do anything on my back. It's underneath the lift, so we have it up on jack stands. But Bobby does everything underneath. And I said, okay, well, I get underneath, and I look up there, and I go, the holes don't line up. He said, I know, that's what I said. So we started looking around. We couldn't figure out, why did these plastics not fit this car? They go right in. They fit right there, but the holes don't line up. I look back around, and there's the plastic shields for the PT Cruiser. We have the plastic shields for the Plymouth Horizon. We grab them. You know, there might be something to this thing about they're built on the same platform. The plastic shields are almost identical. The holes are in a different place, but there's a lot of similarities between a PT Cruiser and a Plymouth Horizon. 4 doors. I mean, there's just so much similarities. Front wheel drive. There's so many similarities. And then the PT Cruisers run hot and they always overheat. And I'm like, hot vapor engine? PT Cruiser? They overheat anyway. What does Smokey have to do? He had to make a half a radiator because he didn't need that much radiator. What's the problem with a PT Cruiser that no one's asked me about? So no one here has a PT Cruiser. The radiator's too small from the factory. That's the problem with the PT Cruiser. So now that I've done it, I love the PT Cruiser. All of these scars, I don't need tattoos. I got PT Cruiser scars. They're not the most fun to work on. I actually kind of really liking them. Did I say love them yet? There's a different way to do it. If you're going to do a mount or you're going to do something, you have to pull the Freon out and remove the lines out of the way. If you're going to get to anything, the starter, the alternator, anything, you got to pull the front grille, the support, and the radiator back just to get your hands in there. The PT Cruiser is narrow in the front, and you can't work on them. You can't work on them if your mentality is the same mentality of every other vehicle you worked on. You're going to get frustrated and you think it's a piece of junk. But if you learn the PT Cruiser, it's not that hard. 7 bolts, the front came off, this came off. I'm kind of liking them. If you learned, I'm up for another PT Cruiser. I think that the PT Cruiser can probably be, I bought this one for $500. It's an amazing vehicle, clean interior. It's the Town and Country or whatever it is. It had 6-speaker stereo, low mileage. So you can buy them very cheap, and really the problems aren't nothing more than just learning the vehicle. And what's the problem? The radiator is undersized. It built up too much pressure, and it blew the O-ring around the water pump. The water pump was not leaking from the weep hole. Now, I will say this. The engineers, I know what happened. There was a guy there that had 30 years working there, and they went and told him he's got 2 weeks, and they hired some guy out of college, girl out of college, somebody, and said, here, you're now the designer. And all of the expertise of somebody been there for a long time that works on vehicles, that knows how to work on stuff, went out the door, and it's poorly designed to be able to be worked on. It just has a bunch of weird stuff that just doesn't make any sense. That's the problem. But once you put your mentality of, now I'm an 18-year-old kid out of college, oh, okay, now I see what they did. So that being said.
Okay, so lots of comments.
All right.
First of all, I'm going to tell you that Robert says that he had a PT Cruiser. He always thought it looked like a 2CV from the side. He put bigger tires in the rear to give it a nice rake, and it looked cool after that.
I love them. They look cool.
James Tomerlin says it's great to see you. 304 build is amazing. He's not sure what's the best way to set total timing. What do you recommend? But his question comes after Luke had a question about overboring a Magnum, a 5.7 Magnum, and D6 Spanky's question was first.
Okay.
She has a 66 Bug that has a 1300cc engine. It sat since 87, but it was full of oil and was not leaking. Is there anything she should know before rebuilding the engine?
Are you going to rebuild it? Does it need to be rebuilt if it just sat for that long? And is it a 1200?
87. Since 87. She said it's a 1300 cc.
It's a 1300.
Is
12.
there anything she should know? It's not for the faint of heart.
I see the little squares and little things jumping. And thanks for the beer money. Thanks for the beer money. Okay. If you've never done a Volkswagen, it might be easier. Or if you haven't done a lot of other engines, that might actually be a benefit, just because it's a different animal. It's air cooled. The cases go together. It really there's a lot of differences. And if you've never done an engine build and you buy the book of How to Rebuild My VW, YouTube has a lot of great videos. It might just be even easier. But I'm going to say this: why rebuild it if it doesn't need to be rebuilt? You can get into some troubles. It's not the same engine as a regular engine. I'm going to give you one example. One example is the main case. It's aluminum case that's bolted together, has a bunch of bolts that hold the case together. First of all, everybody puts a screwdriver in there, don't do it, and hammers it and pries the cases apart, and then you have these marks that you're going to have leaks from. So besides that, pulling the case apart. They get hot. They're air cooled. In Germany, upwards cold is fine. We live in Texas. It's difficult to, these things get really hot. The cases distort. When the cases distort and stretch, the main bearings, being an aluminum engine that expands a lot, the main, if it had a regular bearing, like a main bearing, like a vehicle, like a car that has tangs, that stops the bearing from spinning, no, it doesn't. It has pins. So there's little bitty metal pins. So a lot of times you pull everything apart, throw everything and you wash it and you lose those little pins. So there's a little pin at every main bearing. So when you drop the round bearing in, it's a full round bearing, slides on the crank, and there's a little pin that holds it in line from spinning. What happens is the cases stretch, and a lot of times the case gets sent out and gets line bored because the case is stretched. So you have to line bore the case. Most shops will stamp 10,000ths on the back of the case. So you could have, if the crank was cut, the crank could be cut 10,000ths under. You could also have a 10,000ths oversized outside diameter bearing. So it's not like a Chevy 250 Ford. It's a different animal. So there's so many things that can really mess you up. You go buy the book on how to rebuild your Volkswagen, and yours has already been done once, and they've already line bored it. They didn't stamp 10,000ths on there. So it's not something you can just pull apart, clean, buy new bearings, and put back in. You're going to have to mic everything. So I would suggest maybe do just the heads and the jugs. Leave the case alone. If you haven't spun a rod, haven't spun a main, there's not a lot of metal in there, and you really want to get in there, you can pull the heads off. And then you have the jugs, which are called the cylinders, and you can do cylinders, rings, and all of that without even touching the case. That's the beauty of the Bug. It's just an amazing little engine. So maybe don't go into it as much because you want to. Do what you need to do. I wouldn't suggest you pull the case apart unless you know the oil pump goes in the front, the two cases. There's so many things on a Volkswagen. So anyway, that was the first question. Okay, I want to get to James, but who was number two?
Number two was Luke, and
Luke?
I kind of answered it. Luke wants to have a 5.9 Dodge Magnum motor board, but how do you know the max limit? I said I always recommend sonic testing the block to make sure you can overbore, but also check availability of pistons before you make that determination.
Yes, and the Magnum is a high nickel block. Why you want to? There's other ways to get power than overboring a motor really big. Like I don't know if you're thinking, because if you're worried about cooling, are you thinking really big? 20 over. Don't worry about it. Go 20 over, go 30 over on it, and then you don't have to get it sonic tested for that. Anything more than that, even 60 you possibly wouldn't, but getting the bang for the buck. I know there's no substitution for cubic inches, so I get it, but sometimes doing what we used to do back in the old days, necessarily isn't the thing to do now. If you watch some of the videos we did with Lake Speed Junior, Total Seal piston rings, it was really an eye opener. We went on, and man, if you watch the videos, I broke them down into 5 because we just went on, and we were all over the place. But the last video, I just went and dropped the whole thing the way it went. The camera died, and we turned the camera back on because we talked for half hour before we realized the camera was off. I don't even know, but there's so much data there that is really important. Nowadays, we make power different than back in the day. So that's the difference of that. The Magnum is actually a really good engine. You need more power out of the Magnum. You can get it in different ways in a tune. You can get it in the tune if you want to upgrade, and if you're going to buy pistons, get the thinner rings, get the gas porter ring. I don't know what you're doing with it, but
it's a project truck, and he just wants to build it with a little extra power. Apparently, the factory cam is tiny.
So do a little cam upgrade. Do a tune on it. The lower end is a bulletproof lower end, so really you don't need to get. There was a couple that came in from Thailand and the U.S. And he started to do a project, and sometimes you start the project and you get really in depth in it because I'm gonna do it once, I'm gonna do it right and whatever. And a lot of stuff you don't get a return for your investment. In fact, what you might end up doing is getting, let's say you overboard really big and you overheat. Well, because you wanted a little more, and then now you got an overheating problem and you're not enjoying your vehicle. So that is, I say leave the bottom end alone. Fresh. What did we learn from the videos with Lake Speed Junior? Blueprint and balance. So blueprinting that motor and balancing it just alone is going to just totally make you have a lot more power and be the key. There's a lot that can be done in the tuning, in the camshaft. You want to do a little work on the head. I don't know what you're doing on the intake wise, but be careful along. There's really no need for it. There's really no need for it, but that's just my opinion. Don't make a problem that you didn't have to begin with. I know you want to make it better, but I'm a Chrysler. I grew up with Chrysler. I love Chevy, Ford, and Chrysler. All my stuff at home most of it is all Chevys, but except for the Plymouth. But when I grew up in high school, because I grew up in this business as a kid, the Camaro guys and the Mustang guys were always fighting each other, and I went Chrysler, my own personal, just because I wanted to be different. And one of my early mentors, Les Bennett from B&L Auto Parts, I'm sure he's passed by now, but said, Danny, you want the best truck? Buy an International. You want the best car? Buy a Chrysler. So that's why I went. Now, that being said, there's better ways to spend your money. I could have built a Camaro. You could build 3 Chevys for 1 Chrysler. You can build 2 Fords for 1 Chrysler. So, I wasn't the smartest going there just because of the expensive parts. To get a set of forged pistons for my Chrysler, I ran a 318 when I was in high school, and I could have built a Chevy. I could have built anything. All right, third question
was from James Tomerlin. Remember we built.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
He's wanting to know about setting the right timing for that build.
Okay, so the most important on the timing is the total timing. I want to say the most important. I'm not saying that any of the other timing doesn't matter. Why I say that's the most important, because that's the one that can kill a motor. That's the one that can cause the detonation, pinging. That's the one that can destroy a motor. So kind of I like to sometimes set my total timing and work back from the total timing. The motor's going to dictate. One of the things that we need to learn when we're tuning, especially older stuff. Everything now is with the computer, but the motor is talking to you. Okay, if you learn
about total advance.
Talking about total advance, the motor is talking to you. So if you learn its language, you can understand what it's saying. If you're not listening to it and you're not willing to, then it's talking to you, but you're not paying attention. Okay, so total advance. There's no one answer. I can tell you 34 degrees total advance, 36 degrees total advance. I'm going to go up to 38 to go with total advance. The reason that we want to be careful in the total advance, I don't know what fuel, what octane is in your engine, what you have in it right now. And understand this, when you change your octane, your total advance is going to change as well. Also, let's forget about octane. Okay, let's talk about all this matters to one thing. One thing it matters, and that's all that it really matters. It's cylinder temperature. That's all that we really, if you're going to get down to the grassroots of what things are happening, maybe I'm getting too advanced, but we're getting down to cylinder temperature. Okay, so cylinder temperature is a byproduct of compression. Okay, so when we compress air, if you go, an easy way to do it is touch your air compressor when it's running. That was kind of cold, because if you don't know, you're gonna go and burn your hand on your air compressor. But okay, an air compressor, which is just compressing air, the air is hot. And the reason it's making condensation and making water out of your air compressor is because of the heat. And you go, how is it heat? Okay, when you compress air, you're getting, the volume is going to a smaller spot. It's being compressed, right? The molecules are bouncing around, and they're hitting the cylinder walls, and they're bouncing back and forth, and you're compressing them. They're getting agitated. They're bouncing faster and faster. That friction, I know you're like, friction on the air and a molecule, that friction of bouncing faster and faster and faster, and the molecules moving and being excited, a byproduct of compression is heat. So now we know that. So as the piston goes up and it compresses the air, the cylinder temperature rises. Okay? Octane, like I like to say, I said it in the video, and octane is a Band-Aid, and I don't want to go there, but in an example of octane being a Band-Aid is, if I don't know how to tune, I throw octane at it. If I'm having pinging and I don't know, I'm throwing octane at it. Some of you might be thinking, what's pinging that he's talking about? Pinging and knocking. What causes pinging, knocking, and pre-ignition? Cylinder heat. So as I'm compressing the fuel and air, the cylinder temperature starts to rise. Octane is really, if the pump said BTUs, not octane, BTUs, heat, and those numbers were heat numbers. Higher the octane, that fuel can take more heat before it reacts. Okay, so we need this fuel to react, to ignite, to fire off, right? So the higher the octane, the more heat this fuel can take before it reacts. What we want to do is compress the air in the cylinder up to the highest peak, right up at top dead center. Right past top dead center, our spark plug is going to ignite, and igniting this fuel and throwing the piston out the other side, down the other side. Okay, low octane, don't blame octane, it's not octane's fault. The cylinder temperature goes up. It's not quite up to the pivot point yet, but the cylinder temperature got so hot that the fuel reacted, ignited on its own. That's pre-ignition. It's going up. Before the spark plug fired, it pre-ignited. It became a diesel. Compression ignition. So the heat in the cylinder ignited the fuel, and that is no way no. Okay? I'm in Texas. That's no good. Okay? So it hadn't gone up. What can happen? We lost horsepower. We can see it on a dyno pretty quickly. Ooh, horsepower just drops, right? Because now it's trying to go back this way. That's at the very least it can happen. You know, and if you might not even hear it if you get, such faint. On a fuel injector car, we have a knock sensor that picks that knocking and retards the timing. Okay, so all of this is happening all the time. Now we're getting back to total ignition. So we want to advance, okay, what's total ignition? I'm going to give you a little update on total ignition. We're playing baseball. Baseball's going on right now. I'm going for the home run hit, right? I'm going for the record of the home run hits. You're going to pitch a ball at me at 10 miles an hour, okay? I can swing when that ball goes right over the plate. I can swing and I'm going to hit that ball, right? That's idle, okay? You're going to pitch a ball to me at 50 miles an hour, okay? That's part throttle. If I swing at the same time that I was swinging when you pitched the ball to me at 10 miles an hour, I ain't hitting that ball. Correct? What do I need to do? I need to advance my swing. When I advance my timing, that's the spark plug. That's the swing. Bam, home run. We want a home run, right? So If I don't advance my swing, I miss the ball. But if I advance my swing, the ball is halfway to me and I'm already swinging. When the ball got right over the plate, I hit it. The same as at idle. I still hit the spark plug at the same spot. I want to fire it right past top dead center. I would give you the golden number, but no one's asking. So anyway, if you pitch the ball at me at 100 miles an hour, that's full RPM, full throttle, and I don't advance my timing, I'm not going to hit the hole right? So all that the timing is relevant to is the RPM of the piston, the speed of the engine. So as we start getting faster, we need to advance the timing. We're still firing the plug. The explosion in the cylinder is still happening at the same time. All right. All that being said, that's why I said I don't know necessarily what octane you have in it. And a lot of times I don't tune for max power because I know what's going to happen. This is Texas. It's going to get a little hotter and you didn't compensate for that little extra heat. We're off. We're off. So on the fuel injected car, it's a different animal. It's a different animal. I'm talking about a carbureted car with a regular distributor with advance in it. So I want to go ahead and go right off the bat before I know your engine, because the engine, I can have two engines, two AMCs, two 350s. I can have two identical motors and they can both react totally different depending on the temperatures. The cylinder temperature is the main thing, but the water temperature is going to control the cylinder temperature. Are you getting air from under your hood? What does Gail Banks say? It's in the Bible. That's what Gail says, right? It's in the Bible. You don't know what verse it is. It's up to you to go read the Bible. But he thinks it's the guy with the beard that came down from the mountains with the tablets. One of those, thou shalt not get air from under the hood. Why don't we want air from under the hood? Well, I can get air from under my hood, and then I can go work an extra 5 hours, get some overtime, and go buy race fuel or high octane fuel. Oh, that's right. I'm using my Band-Aid, right? What did I say? The octane is just irrelevant to cylinder temperature. So if I start the whole process by taking air from under the hood, 200, 300 degree air off the headers, off the exhaust, into my air cleaner, I've started the whole process with hot air. Why would you do that? And throw more fuel at it? Throw more octane at it? Or don't get air from under the hood of your car, people. Get air from the front of the radiator. Even though it's 100-degree weather outside, 100-degree air is cold to an engine as compared to the 300-degree air it's getting from the headers or worse. So it's hard to tell somebody what to set their total timing at because I don't know how hot the air is under your hood, and I don't know, and you probably are getting air from under your hood. So one of the worst things is getting air from under the hood. You're already starting out with one hand behind your back. You're already having to throw money at it, right? What if we could start off with cold air, colder air? Now I could compress it. There might be a chance that I can run a 9.5, almost 10.5 horsepower engine on non-premium fuel, and I've done it before. Because fuel, octane is only relevant to the BTUs that it takes to ignite that fuel. So if I can cool off my cylinder temperature, I can run a little more timing. And what do we do? We start pulling timing because it's detonating and pre-ignition and because the fuel is igniting on its own. You want to control the timing. You don't want it to be on its own. If you're not controlling your ignition combustion, you're breaking parts. You're going to break a ringman. You're going to break a piston skirt. You're going to break 4302. The early ones would break piston skirts. So that being said, start off with 32, 34 degrees total timing. Okay, go to the total. What are we going to do? First of all, pull off your vacuum advance and make sure your vacuum advance isn't in the wrong spot on your carburetor. Okay? So cap that off. Make sure your vacuum advance is not even relevant right now. And all I'm working for it with is my mechanical advance. Those are the weights in the distributor. Okay? I may have 10 degrees mechanical advance. I have initial. Initial is what I set it there when it's idling. It's idling and I give it 10 degrees, let's say. and I have 10 degrees of mechanical advance. If I rev it up, I should have a total of 20 degrees. That's what you want to. You have your initial, which is what you set it with the timing light at idle. You have your mechanical advance, what the weights will spring. You can change the springs or the weights to have them come in sooner or come in later. And then you have your total. But you also, if you have this is if you have a non-vacuum advance like an MSD distributor. If not, now we plug in the vacuum advance and we see how much vacuum advance we have. That's your total. Initial, mechanical, vacuum, all three, that's your total advance. Easy cheese, start off at 32, 34 degrees total and see how it acts and see how it likes it. That's probably pretty good. You can always up on that a little bit. If you're gonna run a low grade fuel, and because of the air temperature, you can run a different tune during the winter than you can in the summer. So you're gonna play with those three. What do I start off with? Usually depending on the vehicle and depending on the customer, if he knows how to tune or not. If he knows how to tune, I'll start him off at 10, and I go to a total of 34. How I get the total, I'll play with the vacuum advance and with the weights. We can buy an aftermarket advance that has a set screw in it. You pull the hose off, you put an Allen wrench in it, and it has a stop that you can screw in or out, and that controls your vacuum advance. All right, I probably went.
Okay.
All right, I need more beer. Sorry.
Well, yeah, you've got yourself going here. So Rose wants to hear a Chief story, but Adrian Merritt had a question first. And Adrian said, is there any good power to be found in resonant tuning, airbox tuning, off idle, on throttle, lower end torque? And then he corrects himself and says airbox resonance tuning.
You're way advanced more than the average bear, and yes, and it's
Adrian Merritt.
Okay, well, that's it's probably even more advanced than I could lead you down, but yes, Porsche, Toyota, the one, go get Rose. You would know, busy, right? Go get talk to him about this. This is I understand it, but I can't tell you what will work. What? Yes.
He's working with Hondas, he says.
And so you gotta go follow Busy. He does that every Tuesday. He does. He comes on live. Rose, he was. They were on Motor Mythbusters. Really had some talent on that show that I kind of think, this is just me going, and I should probably stop, but I kind of think they didn't really embrace the talent that they had at their disposal. It could have been, in my opinion, an amazing show with a lot of data, a lot of great myth busting. And they went to kind of, where does the smell of something come from, whatever. But he has every Tuesday on Instagram. He comes on, he takes live questions. Yes, there is advantages there. If you have a Honda, it's probably pretty darn good to begin with. Honda, most definitely Porsche, Mercedes, any of the imports are probably pretty good to begin with.
Don't forget Toyota.
And Toyota. I'm not, because I don't forget Toyota, because that's you don't have to even bring that one up. No. So yes. If you're young, you don't have to be young, but studying in that regard can enhance airflow. You can totally change the characteristics of the intake track. Is very important. People don't realize that the intake and the exhaust. I talked to a customer earlier today, and that on a V8, the pulse width can go up to 4 feet down the exhaust pipe and come back into the cylinder in every combustion cycle. We have a pulse width. So the pulse, and every time the pulse goes, it moves exhaust out, but it comes back in. So the same way with the intake track, as the piston's going up and down and the valves are opening and closing, any slight change in cam timing can change the pulse width. Getting the pulse width timed correctly is like porting a set of cylinder heads. Can be better. So getting the pulse width out of sync can be totally, you could have, I don't understand. I have, the correct intake port. I have the correct cam, but you mess with the pulse width. So it's really sophisticated, not your average thing we talk about, but I like that question.
Yeah, he had a lot of good observations. We're going to wrap this up, but Rose wants to hear a chief story.
A chief story.
I like the accordion ones, but I really like the one where you sneak equipment out at night to help other shops, because we're all in this together.
Okay. There's tons of chief stories, and what my mom, I'm pretty sure not listening, and still has a shop in San Antonio, and my uncle Chief, which is my mom's brother, which is now has passed, long live Chief. So Chief had a different mentality, and the mentality was, and this is probably something good for us to all learn about. Good one, Rose. I think this is probably the good one to end it on. And the mentality was, we're all in this together. Okay, so, and by that what he meant, if another shop called for advice on something, he would help. There's other people that go, no, why are we going to help the competition? My uncle's theory was, I can't build everybody's engine in this town, and why, so you're it's the same. It's like networking. You connect yourself with people that are like-minded, and don't be scared, or don't be offended, or don't be so, I want your advice, but I don't want to give you advice. So what Chief, one night I would always love to go spend the night with Chief, the weekends, all summer, whatever, as much time as I could with him. So he's like, okay, this is summertime and we're gonna leave work. And I said, I want to go, can I go spend the night with you? And he said, yeah, but this is what he would say. If you're gonna go, you ain't gonna say nothing. Well, I just wanted to go with Chief so bad. I'm not going to say anything anyway. I don't know, Well, this was the deal. Another shop in town, don't want to give any names, their boring bar had broken. And they had 4, 5, 6 engines that were just there that needed to be bored. My mom's answer, the answer was, bring them in and we'll bore them for you, okay? Well, this was Chief's answer. And Chief's answer was, give me the keys to his car, and says, go pull the car out to the back of the shop and don't say anything. Okay? So I back up the car to the back of the shop, to the back door, and we take the boring bar off. It's a portable boring bar, but it's on a stand that makes it stationary. But it's a quick way FN. I have one to this day. I have it on a stand. It's air float and everything else. Back in the day, we didn't have that. But he says, go pull the car to the back of the shop. Okay? So what do? We open up the trunk. We get the boring bar, which is an expensive piece of equipment that you don't want to mess up. We may even put it in the back seat. I don't remember that part, but we take it with a rag on, or something on top of it, and we put it in his car. Okay? We leave, and we go to this other shop, and we sit there. I think I fell asleep in the car, and he bores for hours, and he bores, 5 or 6 blocks for this other shop, so the next day they could hone them and get going with their engine bills. We load the boring bar back up, and the next morning, sneaking it back in. So the thing is that's the point, is help each other. Whatever field you're in, if someone calls and asks for help, if someone says, I see that no one else can form this, can do that, but you're having success doing it, you could say, hey, tough, they could all be sent to me. Or you can share your knowledge, you share your wealth. It goes both ways. One day I was playing around with the camshaft. I'm a young kid with the Dodge 2.2 head, and I'm like silly. I don't know why I was gonna flip it like a baton. I don't know what, but I went like this, and it boom, hits a table, falls on the floor, and I break this camshaft in 2. I'm like, I was able to call. I called a few shops. Hey, you got a cam? One of my friends, another shop. Yeah, you know what? I got an engine in the back. It's got a good cam in it. I need that cam. Come get it. Okay, so that's just an example. But as we end it, help each other out in your same line of work. It don't matter if you're in the same line of work. You need somebody that needs help them out. But don't be so proprietary with your knowledge that you're not gonna help bring up somebody else in the field or another shop or whatever. You cannot do everything yourself. Share the wealth. It will come back tenfold and reward you. If nothing else, it should make you feel better. And if it doesn't, then we'll talk about that on the next live stream. What else? Okay.
Well, there was one question from Sarah
Mm-hmm.
who wanted to know when you were asking for questions. She said, "Will you work on my transmission?"
Well, working your transmission. Yeah. It seems like we're gonna have to. It's not that we will. We will address that problem as this. She's got a focus. So is anybody out there? Here we go. That's a master on automatic transmissions on these late model Focuses that just are a grenade for transmissions. Hey, help a brother out. Okay.
Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap it up because we've been at it for an hour. But thank everybody for being here.
Well, this was just
This has been fun.
This has been fun, and this is why you want to hit the little bell. The little bell has a line going through it. That's the notifications. Take that line off because I'll come on. You don't ever know when I'm going to come on. And sometimes it may even be entertaining or educational or fun. We haven't done a live stream, and here's the deal. The video for tonight is about 80% done. I could have gone home and busted butt to get that video done, or I could have come on and kept my standings still up, and I missed y'all anyway. So and next video is going to be a cool one. It's going to be on breathers on a valve cover. If you watch the video with Lake Speed, I brought up some real good points. It's crankcase ventilation. This is just how to put a baffle in your valve cover. But you know me, I can't just talk about how to put a baffle in a valve cover. I start talking about why it's so important to have good crankcase ventilation. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks Shop Mom for putting up with me. Rose, thanks for being here. Think about it. Maybe we should be building a clutch. I don't know.
Definitely need to do a collab with Rose.
I'm gonna do a collab with Rose one day. One day we will do something together.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what?
Peace and assembly grease.
Peace and assembly grease, and we'll see you on the next one. I don't even know where the button is.
I have no idea.
I don't know where's Faye.